Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Build Your Best Business focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start, manage, grow, and eventually exit a business? Today, I'm joined by Deb Beroset. She is the CEO and influence stylist for Moxie Creative and Consulting. Deb, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Eric.
So tell me a little bit about what you do. CEO and influence stylist.
Influence stylist. Yes, I decided to give myself that title. I'm a big believer in bespoke job titles that spark interest. And that one has certainly worked for me because I always get that's so cool. What is that? Right.
Right.
And that's what you want. So I'll tell you, right? Because that's what just happened. I am all about helping hidden gem experts, whether it's a service provider like a coach or a consultant, or a business owner who's selling a product, or even someone who's in the midst of a career in a corporate job. I help hidden gem experts transform into trusted, influential authorities making a big impact in the world.
Got it.
That's what I do. So it's all about getting more visibility, getting yourself out there, as they say. And there's a big part of that I've come to learn about. We can talk more about this, but there's a real inner game that is essential to that transition for people to make, that is usually unanticipated. And I at first didn't quite get it myself. And now, thanks to some neuroscience informed work that I've done, I'm able to help people work through that so that they really step into their greatness and uniqueness and get out there.
Yeah, and the concept of being a hidden gem that you talk about, a lot of that falls between your ears, right? So that you're not willing to talk about it, you're not willing to put it out there, you feel like it's inauthentic in some way. Maybe, it could go back to childhood problems.
Oh my God. I mean, look, we're so creative in that way. We can come up with 20,000 reasons not to put ourselves out there. You can just pick one off the shelf, right? But I think it often comes from a lack of awareness of the importance of it. Right. If people knew what a difference it would make to their practice or their business to actually get out there and be seen and heard and known for what they provide, what they bring to the party, they would actually be attracting the people who would love to work with somebody just like you, Eric. If only I knew you were out there and I knew about your, engaging personality and this and that, I would love to do business with you. But if I don't know that you're out there and you just have a generic website that I'm never going to stumble across, then good luck with that.
Yeah. And I like you use the term hidden gem, best kept secret. I'm the best kept secret in a certain space. So hidden gem, like how did you come up with that, or how did you end up in this line of business yourself?
Oh my goodness. Not a straight line, right? Which is pretty common for those of us who are entrepreneurs. So I started out life as a journalist. Okay. I was a journalist for almost 20 years. I was doing really well at that. I wrote for a lot of the women's magazines, Ladies Home Journal, contributing editor, New York Times, Chicago Tribune, Spent 3 years in the Middle East as a reporter. So I had a real body of experience doing a lot of things as a journalist, taught at my alma mater, University of Missouri J School, one of the best schools. Actually, let's just go say the best journalism school in the country, right?
Yes.
And so that's my DNA. Then I transitioned into working for Hallmark, because I got a little burnout and I just felt the need to actually collaborate with other creative people. I was feeling pretty isolated. That's the work of a writer. It's not usually a team effort. So right. I wound up getting a job with Hallmark in Kansas City at their headquarters, and was so fortunate to be put into the role of the head of their internal think tank, which we branded the Writing Collaboratory. It's now the Collaboratory because we have artists and writers in there now. I say we, I still feel like I'm part of it, right?
Right.
That was a fantastic job, very innovation oriented. We basically did projects for all the different arms of Hallmark. So that helped me with creative teams, what it is to cause and nurture creativity in others. How do you bring that out in people? And also, how do you come up with new ways to express an existing brand.
Got it.
Okay. That was key. And then, I worked on Hallmark magazine. That was a whole nother experience with branded content, getting permission from your public to move your brand into new areas. And then I was recruited by a company called Landmark Education at the time. Now it's Landmark Worldwide, which is a personal and professional development company. They do seminars in 22 countries, I think. So I wound up being in charge of I was the director of public relations for Landmark for almost 12 years.
Yeah.
And went into that job with no public relations training.
Yeah, but being the journalism background is a really good background for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What's
if
the story?
I had to do it over again,
Yeah.
I would do it the same way,
Right.
honestly, Eric, because one of the things that's proven to be gold for me that I did not really think about ahead of time is I think like a journalist.
Right.
That's how I was trained, right? Those neural pathways are dug in. And so anytime I'm looking to pitch somebody or help them get themselves ready for launching out into the media, I think like a journalist. What's going to catch their attention?
Absolutely.
What story angle are they going to be engaged by?
Yeah.
So after a dozen years there, and that was a really fulfilling career. It was amazing. I learned so much, worked with media all over the world, learned so much, right? It was time for me to fulfill on the dream of starting my own thing. Now, the issue was I wasn't exactly sure what that was going to be. I was just really clear. It's time. There's never going to be a perfect time.
Right.
I had no nest egg, and that's putting it mildly. Okay. We won't get into that, but I didn't have a trust fund or a treasure trove in the background. And I didn't have a business plan. I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying what happened.
That's what happened. Yep.
Yeah. And so I just started. I picked a name that I thought was, resonated with me, this Moxie thing, right? I thought that's broad enough that it gives me some room to move around and figure
well,
it
it's
out.
got a good, moxie. People have to have moxie. You gotta.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite words. So I thought, how can I go wrong? I could apply that to anything.
Right.
And so I started out with clients who just knew of me through my many years of working in a pretty visible position. Clients kind of came to me at first, but I knew I couldn't count on that.
Right.
The other thing that was really key for me is to get that. I started out in the mindset of, I can do a lot of things. If you need it, maybe I can do it.
Right.
I can do crisis communications. I can do naming projects. I can do facilitations. And I realized that is coming from such a survival viewpoint, right? Understandable, but not very fulfilling. And over time, and I hired a coach to do this. I recommend, you need somebody else's eyes on you.
Yeah, you need somebody from the outside because you can't see it. You're too close to it.
Too close to it.
Yeah.
And he really helped me figure out, okay, let's narrow this down. Let's narrow it down. And I was schooled and am now a huge proponent of the whole matter of really getting clear about your niche or your niche, if you want to be a little fancy, right? I was so resistant to doing it. I felt every fiber of my body fighting it. But I'm going to eliminate some things that I could make money at. I don't think that's a smart thing to do.
Every entrepreneur, every business owner, they go through that. They feel like they're limiting themselves. But if you can focus and focus correctly, you end up, that's a much better way to make money off of what
Oh
you're doing.
my God. Night and day. I'll spare you all the machinations, but what I wound up with, what I have now is, it's a boutique practice that's based on thought leadership. What I realized, and this came from some pretty rigorous work that I've been doing with myself for the last year and a half. I really looked at what's important to me. If I'm not going to have this just be another job, right?
Right.
What do I want to cause in the world with my time and my energy? And what I came to sounds kind of vague, but it works for me. It's like, I want to just raise the vibe. Yeah. Whatever I'm doing, I want to raise the vibe, elevate the energy, whether it's a conversation, whether I'm working with a client, I'm buying something at Target, whatever. That's kind of my thing. And so that has proven to be a wonderful compass for me. Yeah. And the people that I work with, Eric, are people who are up to something. I don't promote, the opening of the gas station on the corner. I don't do that kind of work, right? These are people who are out to close the gender gap in the workplace. People who are out to have corporate cultures where people are respected and treated with dignity. People who are out to cause women to be able to change the world through their businesses. I mean, I have a client, this great guy who's Mike Sherrick, who's creating the new masculinity. And he's now gone from kind of generic business executive coach to, you'll have to check this out, the ride of your life. He's now, in fact, the beginning of November, he's going to have a motorcycle ride for a bunch of dudes going from Nashville to New Orleans. And the whole thing is kind of like a coaching program on wheels for 4 days.
Oh, that's interesting. And it's very different. Yeah. And I like, so your concept, around the hidden gem, best kept secret, something that's different, this thought leader concept. And we talked about this before the interview. I work with a lot of B2B companies. There's 75% of our stuff is B2B and about 25 is B2C. B2C companies kind of get it. Like they know they have to be out there and the way that they're promoting. B2B, when I talk to their owners about being thought leaders or about sharing what they do and how impactful it is, there's such a hesitation to that. They think, oh no, we need to put everything into the company, and they don't understand that it's really about them. Like what they do and what they deliver is what's going to make somebody buy.
It is so true. Just yesterday, I was leading a mastermind call for this group that I'm in called World Changing Women, started by this amazing woman, Kim Carpenter in Austin. Yeah. And I'm part of this mastermind group. It's the founders circle of the organization. I was sharing with them how I keep discovering at a new level for myself as a business owner, how there's so much about me, my business, what I do that I don't leverage. Just as an example, okay? As an example, I had to have somebody that's on my team I was working with visit me, and she said, "Why are you not showing your environment, your home?" She said, "You should have clients come for your VIP day," which is now called the Whirlwind Influence Makeover.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
She said, "Your space," I'd pick up the computer, but it'd probably unplug something. "Your space is this kind of creative environment." She said, "It's like this little shrine of creativity. People would love to come here." And so you got to get this. I created this space. I'm used to it. And I'm all about branding and all this stuff. And I look at her and I go, "Really?"
Yeah.
That's the common response. Like, "Really? Do you really think so? Like, you want me to bring people here?" And she goes, "Yes."
Well, that's why they buy from you. So we're going to go to a commercial break. And when we get back, I want to talk a little bit about what happens in that space of why people have a problem, getting out there, because you run into that all the time. I do too. And my diagnosis is you need to do it. So I probably need to then send them to you, right? Because I'm like, you need to do it,
Eric. Hello. Yeah.
And find out, and the fact that sharing the things that you like or are unique about you, that's a big part of it, right? Like you got to know who the person is. So we'll be back in just a second. We're talking with Deb Beroset. She is the CEO and influence stylist for Moxie Creative and Consulting. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. We'll be back in just a moment.
So tell me how you came up with the name Laddering Works.
So it's tied into several things. It has several meanings. So Laddering is the name of the book that I had that came out in 2013, and I'm working on 2 more books in that series. So the first book was about how to find customers and how to create marketing messages. I'm working on one around building teams and then also being a good leader. So how do you run your business effectively, those kind of things.
Nice.
In that book, I teach you that you need to understand why. And we need to understand why very deeply. So you're asking that question multiple times to understand what your customer wants and how they're buying from you. So with laddering, we're helping you scale up. So we're laddering your company up to the next level by deeply understanding what's not working in the company. So what operational structures are missing? What are you not doing on the marketing side? And so we apply the techniques that I talk about in that book, and we ladder your company up. And the interesting thing about laddering is you think about moving up. Well, we actually have to go deep. We have to look up underneath the covers. We have to understand why the structure is not there before we can take you up to that next level. So it plays off a couple of ways, but it's based on that technique. And we're back. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm talking today with Deb Beroset. She is the CEO and influence stylist for Moxie Creative and Consulting. And she's someone who helps an individual like me. I was telling her during the break how at my company back in 2010, I had someone come in and say that the reason we weren't growing is I wasn't standing on stages because I didn't want to stand on stages. I was an introvert. It was not about me. I put all the stuff into the company, but things changed, and now you want to hear from who the person is. Like, who is this? What do you know, and how do you know it? So what is that mindset? What do you have to work with people? Because for me, I would do anything to make the company grow, right? So if they came in and told me that I needed to start doing this, I did all the stuff, right? But I run into problems where people are not willing to or don't want to own that thought leader kind of influencer piece.
Yes, it's actually a really big thing. And I work with, incidentally, a lot of people who consider themselves introverts. And it's a struggle. And it's even if you're not considering yourself an introvert. And here's I'm just going to bottom line it for you, okay? Here's how you get over that. You ready?
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's actually about your message. All right? Now, people want to get to know you. We've all heard that thing. You know, people do business with people that they know and they like and they trust. Well, how the heck are they going to get to know and like and trust you if you're constantly head down at your desk, you know, doing the do, and you never give them a sense of who you are?
Right.
Look, we all have beating hearts and souls, and we want to connect with people that we feel good about, right? One of the ways you do that is to let people know what's important to you. Like I did at the top of this interview where I said, here's what I'm about. I'm all about raising the vibe.
Right.
You know, if that doesn't resonate with you, okay.
Well, and I think that's a really good point. It's not about you, it's about your message. And people get caught up in, oh, I've got to start sharing stuff over. So it's about me, or I'm going for dinner and da-da-da. And it's like, no, not really. Like if that doesn't support what you're trying to put out in the world, then you shouldn't. Like you'll never see me discuss politics because it's not part of my message. I'm never going to talk about it. So
Same here.
You have to figure out where those lines are, and you don't have to share everything. It's the things that support the message. That's a really great way to put it.
Yeah, I like to when I work with people, we come up with typically 3 themes for your business. You know, mine are, let's see if I can remember them now: creative confidence, hot thought leadership, and big impact. Those are my lanes. All right. The stuff that I share that's personal, I share it because it's somehow related to that.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I think makes a big difference for people to really get and adopt is that, you know, because I've had people say, well, I don't want to get all this attention on me. I want it to be about the thing.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, but you are the face of the thing.
Right.
That you are the access for people to the thing.
And you're the one the most passionate about the thing. No one else can sell the thing as well as you can.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So I tell people, all right, just consider yourself the conduit. You're you're the conduit for this message to get out there. I consider myself a conduit. I'm not the only one in the world. It's not like that. But I'm a conduit for the message of it's worth having some moxie. It's time to step it up and let yourself shine. You know, there's this great song I've heard by Foy Vance that says something like, it's a love song, but it's basically, how can I find you? You know, shine a little light on you so that I can find you.
Right.
So that's one of my theme songs, is because if it's kind of like dating. If you're sitting at home on your couch, your dating life's going to be a little limited.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
if you're not going to networking events, if you're not putting yourself out there, it's going to be hard for people to find you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How did I find my fabulous boyfriend? By putting it out there online. I'm a big proponent of it. You know, make it clear. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Don't want to be. But the people who would love to do business with you, if they only knew you, they will see you. They will find you. They'll go, oh, you know, where have you been all my life? They'll be your next customer or client. And then they're going to tell other people like them. And it takes off.
Yeah. So what do you do once you get somebody past the mind game of it's not about me, right? And it's about my message. So they're bought in. But even defining what that message should be or how they approach it or what that's going to look like where do you start with someone? What's one of the first things you do?
I help people with branding from the inside out. For me, it's all about what's here. If it's not at your very core, part of your DNA, part of your values, what life's about for you, I think it's going to be kind of an empty exercise ultimately and a lot of hard work.
Right. Yeah.
So we start with that. What's important to you? We figure out basically the essence of your brand. Then I go from the essence of the brand and we figure out those themes I was talking about. And then it starts to get really fun because then we do things like I recommend people create a word palette. So the word palette for Moxie, for example, has words like, you know, fun and play and seduce and bold and like my whirlwind. Here's a great example. When I created that specific offering, now I've been doing this kind of work, but I didn't have a great package for it. When I worked with this person on my team, Victoria, and we created the Whirlwind Influence Makeover. And then we just went to town with the word palette. So there's the before play. I don't do pre-work for that day. Oh, no, that's not my brand. My brand does before play. People go, oh, that's fun, right? And then
well, anytime you use the word work, you run into trouble anyway, right? It's like,
well, yeah.
I need you to do some homework. Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. It's like, I didn't want to be another, okay, here's some stuff you're supposed to do, you know? And so if you go to my site and you look at the language on that site, it is very carefully crafted. It creates an experience just reading it. And that's what I work with people on doing for their own things. You go to Mike Sherrick's website, which is Ride, O-Y-L, Ride of Your Life. Just looking at that website creates an experience. It's completely imbued with Mike's distinct personality. He is like total dude, up and down, right? And when he's talking about the itinerary for that trip, there's cigars involved. We're going to eat our such and such is off. I don't know what your policy is on language. You know, there's not a lot of yakety yak explanation because he goes, dudes don't like that. We just want to get to the bottom line.
Right.
And the button to buy or to find out more about the rides that he's organized says, get that wind therapy. How cool is that?
Nice.
Wind therapy, part of his word palette. The quotations that are on his site about cool guys talking about motorcycles, part of his word palette. Anybody can do that. And I highly recommend it because then you weave your magic. And by magic, I mean your unique personality, your style, your sensibility, what's fun and funny and engaging to you. And when you weave that throughout your website, your social, your public face, to the world, it will attract like-minded, kindred spirits who would love to do business with you.
Yeah, and it's so much easier to own those things.
Yes. Well, then you don't have to try to be a certain way, right? Like, I am not a buttoned up, like I can play that on TV. I've been a corporate spokesperson, right? But that's not who I am naturally. You know, I don't wear a suit. I wear stuff like this.
Right.
And I talk the way I talk. And I tend to be on the informal side. And I like to have fun, you know, thus the before play. So
right.
when